Saturday, the 28th of May, 2022, Scruffy Murphy's in Birmingham, 7 p.m. Be there. The Chronicles of Podcast. Live. Tickets on sale now. Go to www.ctickets.com.
It's about getting into schools and talking to young people because, you know, I know that people can change. And it's about talking to people and getting them to understand and perhaps step back from violence and prejudice and whatever. And we just need to work together and keep on the good fight there.
Absolutely. Hey there, guys. We are ecstatically happy to announce that we are associated with the Sophie Lancaster Foundation.
The times are changing, and with the unfortunate death of Sophie, those changes have made a massive impact for the future. If Sophie was with us still today, I can guarantee what you are doing will still be reaching so many lives of young teenagers, young adults, and those who wish to be as different as possible. So thank you very much.
To find out more about this incredible foundation and all the work they do, and more importantly, how you can help, head on over to www.sophielancasterfoundation.com.
Hi, this is Rob Schamberger, the artist in residence for WWE, and you are listening to the Chronicles of Podcast with Tom and Jamie.
Hi, everybody. That's right. You should know by now. You should know by now how this starts. And welcome to the 39th edition of the Chronicles of Podcast. And I believe, Jamie, these are the Chronicles of Rob Schamberger, am I right?
You are absolutely correct, sir.
Wonderful. We're still driving. I'm still driving. We're still on this road. Fuck it. Hit it. Should we bring that piece in?
I think we definitely should grab that piece.
That fantastically artistically painted piece.
Oh, yes.
Welcome to the Chronicles of Rob Schamberger. Rob is the artist in residence at a little company called WWE, Jamie. Did you know this?
I think I've heard of it. I think we might have mentioned it once or twice.
World Wrestling Entertainment. If you really strive and achieve to do what you really want to do, you can achieve your dreams. Did you know that?
You can. Let's be honest, it's been a bit of I'm trying to think of the word I'm after. The message of this show, really, like the amount of people we spoke to just went, I wanted to do something. I found out how to do it. I fucking did it. And now look where I am. I'm awesome. And it's exactly that. It's incredible. I love this. This.
Just mean to think that you'd be like, oh, let's go paint a picture. That's in Randy Orton's office.
Yeah.
I was just chilling with Stone Cold Steve Austin having a chat for a bit at Wrestlemania because I can.
Because, yeah, why not? It's just stunning.
It's nuts. It's really nuts to think, we've been wrestling fans for what? Years, over 20 years.
30 years, yeah.
Yeah, it's just absolutely batshit. I don't know, it's just crazy. It's just, I love it. And I love the idea of, I wanted to do this, so I did it.
What I love about this interview as well is going into this, obviously I knew Rob worked for the WWE. I've seen his artwork before, but didn't know that much of his story. There's not a whole lot out there about Rob and his story. And it's absolutely amazing. Like, found out so many amazing things during this interview. It's definitely one to recommend. You don't need to be a wrestling fan. I don't want people to be put off over the fact this guy works for a wrestling company. You don't need to be a wrestling fan. No, this is a story about a man chasing his dream, following his passions, and getting to where he wants to be. And it's stunning.
I needed to feed his cats.
Yes, definitely needs to feed them cats. Definitely.
It's all about feeding those cats. But to be honest with you, Jamie, I don't want to really dabble on too much longer. I think we should really get into the juicy and meatiness of it all.
I think we should definitely slice into a juicy, meaty piece of Rob.
Wonderful. Jamie!
Yes, sir.
Any of those words are final at all, or are you good?
I just want to say massive thank you to Mr. Rob Schamberger. You absolute legend, you. Everyone go check out Rob's work and enjoy this interview.
Absolutely. Rob, thank you so much for taking the time out, sitting down to talk to us about your very busy schedule, as I know you are building Lego and all that sort of thing. So I know that obviously you are a very, very busy man. But still, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, interviewing this week, he is a painter, the artist in residence at WWE. He really needs to feed his cats. It's Schamberger. What's going on?
Hello.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Thank you, Rob. Thank you so much for doing this for us, buddy. We really do appreciate it. We're not as cool to have our microphone hanging.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Well, thanks for putting up with me after I totally shit the bed the last time. Sorry about that.
It happens. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Everyone's human.
Not with me. I'm supposed to be perfect all the time. Haven't you asked the internet?
Oh, of course. Of course. Sorry. Yeah.
You can pay us in complimentary Wrestlemania tickets. It's fine.
If I got those, I would give them to you.
Totally would. Yeah. Wink and all. Nudge. As I said, didn't Mr. Perfect obviously had another son that we didn't know about. So, but still, honestly, it's absolutely fine. We don't hold grudges.
Oh, good.
Much. No, I'm joking.
So you're not. So I've heard like the Irish hold the grudges. Is that less so elsewhere?
I mean,
or is that Irish American? Because I mean, like over here, if someone says that like they're Irish, that means they're about to like break off a bottle and stab me with it.
I feel like there's a difference between Irish and American Irish.
I don't know. Well, okay, here's a hilarious thing. My first WrestleMania, I shouldn't give you all the good stories before we're even really going, but I did that WrestleCon thing. Instead, I wasn't with WWE anymore, and there was this group of Irish fans that came over, and like two of them like looked like they'd been beaten with a baseball bat like recently, and I go, Jesus, what happened? And it's like we ran into this rival Irish wrestling group at a pub last night, and we got into a bit of a fight. And I'm like, oh, so yes, okay, so the Irish thing is across the board.
Yeah, I think it's a religious thing, isn't it? It's a Catholic and a Protestant thing.
Yeah.
And it's like
they're just angry all the time.
Yeah, and it's like certain roads don't walk down if they're painted a certain color because that's like a Catholic side, and then there's one, and it's just mental. It's just absolutely not. I've never been. A really good friend of ours is Irish, and he's lovely. I've rarely ever seen him get angry. So I think they're either one or the other. They're either ridiculous, want to kill everyone and fight everything, or they just want to get drunk and just drink and just leave everybody alone.
And then the grudge side is hilarious. Like my best friend, he and his family are Irish, and back in the 70s, his dad was banned from an Irish bar here in Kansas City. Flash forward to like 5 years ago, and he was going to go in with one of his other sons, and the owner of the bar was the same guy, and he's like, "No, Al, you can't come in. You're banned for life."
No way! That's insane.
Yeah, I love it.
That is, yeah. I suppose you never think about it, do you? People will go, "Oh yeah, well, fuck off, you're banned forever." You're like, oh, okay, yeah, no worries. I'll go back in 10, 15 years. They won't be there. 50 years later, that's insane.
Yep.
That's mind-blowing.
I guess he had thrown a bouncer through a plate glass door, and the owner was like, "You're banned for life," and meant it.
Jesus.
Part of you's like, that's so petty, and the other part is like, I'm quite impressed that you're sticking to that. I quite admire that.
I respect it.
And he must look so different 50 years later as well. So the fact that he still remembers who he is insane.
Well, they all go to the same church.
Okay. I was going to say that photographic memory of like,
right,
I know you, but you're 50 years older. Get out.
Like he was seriously like hobbling in on a cane, and they didn't care.
That is nuts. Wow. Well, I mean, like I said, we haven't even started, and we're off to an absolute flyer already. But basically, Rob, what we like to do here is Jamie does a nice introduction, and he lures you to that false sense of security, makes you feel nice and warm and cozy and ready to go. And then we're going to absolutely bombard the living hell out of you with questions. How does that sound?
It's the equivalent of breaking off a bottle and stabbing me with it. I'm good.
Yeah, just a less violent way, I guess.
Slightly less violent. Right, let's do my intro. Ladies and gentlemen, today we bring you a wonderful gentleman with an extraordinary talent. Using his very unique art style, today's guest has made such a name for himself to the point he is now artist in residence for a little company you may have heard of called World Wrestling Entertainment. Today, we bring you the Chronicles of Rob Schamberger.
That's me. Hello.
Hello. Welcome, sir.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thanks for coming on, Rob. We really do appreciate it. It's it's quite an honor, actually, because obviously with us being ridiculously huge avid wrestling fans, anyone we get from that world or that side of things would be like, oh, WWE. Oh.
And everyone else said no, so you're stuck with me.
Yeah.
We almost got Vinnie Mac, but he chickened out at the last minute.
Oh, he just needs to toughen up one of these days. Get some grapefruits.
Yeah. I think it's more like just washing my hair tight, lads. Sorry, I'll something like that anyway.
he did McAfee show instead. I don't know.
Yeah. So, we said, Pat's all right, mate. We understand. Don't worry. But seriously, though, Rob, first and foremost, the most hard-hitting question of all: how was your pandemic season?
Well, I guess it's still kind of ongoing. Although, like recently, they said that like the U.S. is finally out of the pandemic classification, so I guess I can officially talk about it in the past tense. I don't know. I'm nervous about that, but working from home as an artist, and with WWE going off the road for about a year there, it was, as far as like my day-to-day life, not a huge change. Like I'm pretty much at my drafting table painting every day anyway. So that didn't change a whole lot, other than, like once or twice a month I'm at WWE events. And so like I got to stay home for a bit. Like me and some friends joke that like for our pets, like it was the best year ever because we were home all the time. Like my cats absolutely loved it.
That's lush.
Yeah. I didn't catch it.
Good.
Yeah. And like people close in my family did, but made it through to the other end so far. So as far as all of that goes, as good as possible is how the pandemic has gone for me.
That's good. I'm pleased. But yeah, I see what you mean, because a lot of people now are saying like, oh, when COVID was around, when COVID was a thing, because here in the UK, it's gone. No one talks about it anymore. It's just it might be a 1 in 23 people have it. It's really low. Cool. Anyway, so what's going on in Russia?
Millions of people have it, but otherwise we're doing good.
Yeah.
Exactly that. Yeah.
I said, oh, you've got a cold. What's wrong with you? Just get some paracetamol and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I got the 2 Moderna shots, got the Pfizer booster. I've got a heart condition, but they say I'm still not qualified for the second booster, but I don't know. I believe in science. So when I get it, I'm going to, when I'm eligible, I'm getting it. Doing all this as right as I possibly can.
Good man.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're right there with you.
Thank you.
So take us back to the days of young Master Schamberger. What were your original career plans that you wanted to do when you grew up? Was it always art for you, or was it something else entirely?
I am so glad my last name is not Bates.
Get Tyler on the show.
Right. I call him Master Tyler. I pretty much from when I was like 7 or 8, when I got my first comic book, I knew like right then, like I want to be an artist. It was an issue of the Incredible Hulk, and like the feeling it gave me just from like a series of images, like, okay, I want to be part of this. So yeah, like pretty much from the beginning, from around whenever your brain is developed enough to say this is definitely what I want to do with my life. That's about how long it's been for me that I want to be an artist.
That's amazing. I love that. So is that where that passion for you to follow it came from, was comic books, or was there like another external, was like your parents' arty or anything like that?
It was definitely the comic books. My mom appreciates art, but like didn't really have the knack for it herself. That was more like on the music side, but even then it was just like an occasional hobby thing. So yeah, it was really self-driven as far as getting the interest in it and staying with it. It was just a thing of like, okay, yes, I get this. This is a thing that I really enjoy doing. It's a thing I enjoy experiencing, and people from a pretty young age were enjoying the art that I was making.
So how do you know you could like draw or paint that? Because obviously there's quite a lot of avenues you can go down, isn't there? Drawing, painting, pastel, oils, water, like acrylic. There's absolutely so many. Was it drawing first, or was it painting straight from the off? You're like, oh my God, I'm good at this.
It started with the drawing side, just from like practical reality of being able to afford the materials.
Okay.
And also like my mom not especially wanting me to make a huge mess out of the house from a pretty young age. So a lot of like pencils and pens and markers and things like that. Around high school is when I started really getting a love for painting. Like I loved, in comic books, there's a lot of painted art that happens there. So, wanting to try to duplicate what I was seeing, especially around high school age, that kind of came into it. But I more see it all as just different tools for making visual art. And there's things that I've learned from using a brush and ink, like black ink, that applies to the way that I apply watercolor or acrylic, or vice versa, like all around. Like just recently I started using a tool for acrylic where I was all of a sudden like, hey, what would this be like with watercolor? And it's completely changed the way that my watercolors look.
Nice.
So it's just experimenting and seeing what comes back to the core style.
That's so cool.
I like that.
Yeah.
Did you study art at all, or was it just something you just practice?
I consider that studying. I grew up fairly poor, so college wasn't an option for me. So like pretty much had to go straight into the workforce right out of high school. But in high school, I happened to have a very good art program, and a couple of the teachers there could really see that this was like, I was one of those students that was serious about this. So they really took me under their wings. But then otherwise it was, I would work, my 8 hours a day at my day job, and come home and draw or paint for 4 to 5 hours, and then 12 hours a day on the weekends. And yeah, like I considered my day job to be something that was paying for my art career until I was able to switch over.
That's incredible. Did you ever play that really nice French music that plays every time you see an artist on TV? I don't know if it happens in America. Over here, it's like, and it's always like a little beret on, and I think a paintbrush coming out the mouth. And it's always like the little.
For some reason over here, they do like either hip hop music or like some sort of like Japanese music.
Okay.
Yeah, the French thing doesn't happen as much. Like I remember growing up, they would do that, but now it's all like this either Japanese or like mid 90s pre-death row hip hop type beats.
That's a hell of a contrast.
Yeah.
Should we go with dirty like 90s hip hop? Or Japanese music? What do you reckon?
Right.
J-pop, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
Well, not
That's
even J-pop, like flutes and stuff.
Oh,
yeah.
suppose for you, it'd just be like Kai and Ty's theme tune or something, wouldn't it?
Oh, that'd be great.
That
I
would be
could get the voiceover part too.
Yeah.
Like a Godzilla movie. I'd love that.
Is this piece of art good? Indeed.
Indeed.
So, as I said in my intro, you have like a very unique art style. Like you see your art and you're like, that's a Rob Schamberger piece. But for those unaware, how would you describe your style?
Boy, that's tough. There was I saw a quote once that the way that an artist unique to them falls short of realism is their style. So like the ways that I don't make it look photorealistic are like the ways that my style is coming through. And you know, like it varies based on the type of medium I'm using or the different kinds of approaches. As far as like defining it, I kind of leave that to other people to do. Historically, that's been the way in the art world. And hilariously enough, like most of the major art movements, the names that were given to them were derogatory at the time. Like Cubism, Impressionism, movements like that were actually terms that were brought up by the critics in the newspapers to make fun of the artists that were doing this sort of work. Abstract expressionism, things like that. It was all to make fun of it. And then over time, like the artists themselves embraced it, said like, yes, okay, great, call us that. And it became like, now, like when I tell you that, you're like, how is that making fun of it? Because it's so synonymous. But at the time, it was really derogatory. So go ask Twitter what you would call my style. There's plenty of jerks on there that'd be just happy to tell you what they think.
They're just jealous, Rob. That's all it is. So when I first saw your work, I was like, gee, that's incredible. Like literally mind blowing. You say it's like photographic realism, whatever. But in a way, your paintings are kind of realistic, because I still went, that's definitely Asuka. That's the detail on her face. That's Adam Cole. Like there's so many. The Tommaso Ciampa one, I was blown away by. I love him anyway, but just how real he looks, the way his detail, his beard and everything. I was like, and his coat, incredible, absolutely incredible.
I would say, like, with my approach, first, thank you.
You're welcome.
But that, yes, I want it to look like the subject, but it's more important to me that it feels like what it's like when you watch them, right?
Yeah.
So getting that energy, that feeling across is as important or more important than just making it look like them.
I love that. So is it a different technique you use for different images, or do you have like the Rob Schamberger technique?
I don't. I kind of equate it to freeform jazz. Like, I know where I'm starting from, and I have an idea of where I want to finish, and I just improvise in between. A lot of it, like, I've kind of figured out different combinations of color or technique that'll get me a certain result. But like, I'm often as amazed at how it turns out as someone seeing it. Like, like the recent Asuka one I did, I didn't like it until the very last brush stroke. And then I'm like, oh, that one worked. Like, like the whole time it's kind of a controlled panic. Like, oh God, this isn't working. What do I do to fix this? This isn't right yet. What do I do here?
Oh, I love that. So I was doing my research, as you do, but I know how reliable the internet is. But I read somewhere that you get like a promotional still and then like build on top of it. Is that right? Is that?
Well, I'll use that as reference. Yeah. Like I'm not like physically painting on top of that. It's a reference that I have mostly to get, the likenesses right. But it's not that interesting to me to make it look exactly like the thing, right? Like people want a painting, so I do things to make it look like a painting. I guess by painting it, I don't know.
So, what got into wrestling then? How did you first venture across? What was WWF at the time?
I didn't actually grow up on it like most people. I came in when I was 18, so it would have been 98, 99. And my mom had recently remarried, and my stepfather was a fan back in the 60s and 70s. And I was over at their place doing laundry like a 18-year-old does. And my stepfather was flipping through the channels and landed on WCW with Ric Flair doing a promo. And it was like the clouds parted. I heard the angel choir. Like, I get it. This is what wrestling is. Okay, I get it. And like, I knew nothing, right? Like I knew some of the names of like 80s wrestlers just from like the Rock and Wrestling cartoon. But that was about all I knew really. And so the next week when I was over there again, it was on a Monday, and I was just looking for quote wrestling and landed on Raw instead of Nitro. And like at that time it was Jericho and the Hardys and Edge and Christian, Triple H, The Rock, Stone Cold. Like I was in, man. Like I immediately fell into it right from that moment on. And like again, like coming in as an adult and like knowing that it's a fictional presentation, right? Some of the really absurd stuff at that time was what really got me to fall in love before like gaining an appreciation for what they're able to do in the ring. So like Big Boss Man dragging Big Show's dad's coffin around, and there was a match between Big Show and Hardcore and Crash Holly where Crash was trying to choke out Big Show the whole time, like hanging from his neck, and Big Show's just wrestling Hardcore Holly. I don't know why no one talks about this match. It's incredible. and he pins Hardcore with Crash still trying to choke him out. I'm like, I love this stuff. And then shortly after, Mae Young gave birth to a hand, and who just recently debuted at Wrestlemania in that Johnny Knoxville match. So glad to see the handle grown up and involved.
That took me a second.
Yeah. That was the kind of stuff that got me in. But then like seeing like, especially like, what was happening with the tag team division, like Hardys against Edge and Christian, and then shortly, the Dudleys coming in, and of course, like Rock and Stone Cold at the top, and Undertaker, and all that stuff. DX reformed right around then. I just loved it and started, like coming from the comic book background where so much of it is like digging in deep and getting the whole history on a character and getting the whole history on the people making the comic books and all that stuff. And like wrestling is perfect for that as well. And just started, voraciously reading and researching everything. And, it's such a deep mind if you want to really, become a hardcore nerd about it, which I do. And, for a long time, I tried to stay away from getting involved. But then, eventually the paths combined and here I am. And I still get to be a nerd, but I get to do it for a living.
Which is just incredible.
Living the dream.
Yeah. And what a time to come into it as well.
I know, yeah.
At peak Attitude Era, just...
Well, it was great, but don't go back and rewatch it. There's a lot of stuff where I'm like, oh, that would not fly today.
Yeah.
That's not so hot. Especially the depiction of the ladies, not so great. We definitely do that better nowadays.
Yeah, 100%. I
Yeah.
mean, and who brings a samurai sword to chop off Val Venus's cock?
Oh boy,
Like,
choppy.
Choppy your pee. So obviously you say you got into wrestling when you were about 18, 19. So what were you drawing before then? Was it the comic book stuff?
Yeah, the comic book stuff. And was like making my own comics, writing and drawing. And for a long time, again, like I had the day job to pay for my art career. And it just got to a point where I was around when I turned 30, and I was just miserable having day jobs, as I'm sure everyone everywhere can relate. And I just had enough, couldn't do it anymore. But I also knew that I just didn't have the skills to be a working full-time comic book artist. There's a lot of things that go into, especially like drawing a monthly comic book, that are skills that I just don't have, right? Like you wouldn't hire an electrician to fix the pipes in your house. It's different kinds of skills like that. Which was hard for me, right? Like that, it was a pretty low part of my life where I'm like, oh man, like I've invested my whole life towards this and I just don't have what it takes. But like I was saying, like that I experiment with different techniques and mediums and the like. I was doing paintings on the side just to grow as an artist. And my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, had a friend that had a gallery here in Kansas City that their artist had dropped out like a week before opening.
No.
Happens all the time. Like so much of my early art career's success was from being able to step in when other artists flaked out.
Thanks, guys.
But yeah. She was like, oh, my boyfriend has all these paintings sitting around. I'm like, oh no one wants to see the paintings. That's not my real work. The comic books are my real work. But she's like, Rob, like she just needs someone. Let's just throw some frames on these things and put them up on the wall in there. So I did, and like sold some paintings. And yes. I was like, oh, okay. So I was growing the gallery side of my career to the point that I was like making more from that than I was from anything I was doing with comic books. But I still wasn't like making enough to pay my rent and my utilities, which are like the realities. So as an artist, unless you're like a full-time employee of a company, you're a business owner. And so I changed my philosophy of, okay, I have a business selling goods and services, artistic goods and services. How do I market this? How do I alter the goods and services that I'm offering to make enough to stand out? And I was reading a marketing book from a guy that was this book was actually like one of the sources for the show Mad Men, which I was really into at the time. So I was, again, I'm a nerd and I go deep on everything. And he had a rule in there that for marketing, you need one of at least three things to stand out. You need to be the first at something, you need to be the best at something, or you need to be completely different from what else is out on the market. And so we had just gone to like a couple of years earlier, Wrestlemania 24. And, there was what was it like 67,000 people there, depending on your wrestling math. And I'm like, I love wrestling. I love art. There has to be other people out there. And, like I know what we spent to be up in the nosebleeds for that show. Look at these people, especially down on the floor. How much money are they spending? Having heard so many different accents and languages spoken, just walking into the stadium, I knew people would like drop serious money to come in. I'm like, this is a market, 65,000 people that are really into just one thing to this level, this degree. that's a sustainable market, as WWE obviously knows, right? And so like, oh, no one's doing fine art of professional wrestling, and then it's like, holy crap, no one's doing this. Like, get in on it right now. And I used the service Kickstarter to do a project for it's a thing that I'll be working on the rest of my life, but like every world champion from every major North American company going back to George Hackenschmidt in 1905.
Wow.
And I raised 20 grand in the first month.
Oh,
and I was like, okay, quit my job and I'm doing this. And then within a year, WWE reached out about bringing me under the umbrella and working with me. And we've been going for 8 or 9 years now.
amazing. Is that all from Kickstarter? Is that how they discovered you? Was it through Kickstarter?
It wasn't. Well, I think I got on someone there's radar with that. I mean, if you're going to make 20 grand in a month in wrestling outside of WWE, that's going to get you on the radar. But I was at a museum event, a wrestling museum that Jerry Briscoe and Jim Ross were at. And they were both still executives with the company at the time. And we swapped contact information. And then WWE was coming to Kansas City, where I live. And I reached out about doing a Make-A-Wish fundraiser gallery show. And Jim passed the information along, but he also called Triple H's office and said, like, hey, we need to be working with this kid. And Triple H's right hand, a guy named Ben Brown. If you've watched that Hidden Treasure show, Ben's the guy that runs the warehouse. One of the most desired jobs in the world. But I had met Ben at a different event, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I love Rob," and he said to Triple H, like, "Yeah, let's definitely do this," and we were off to the races.
Incredible.
It's mad.
Because it's all about, like, number one, like doing the work, right? And then number two, like getting out there so that people are seeing it in person. Like online, people see the stuff, but it doesn't compare to seeing it in person. And I knew that. So like anywhere that there was any kind of like wrestling type convention, I was booking myself at, like buying a table and setting up, because I knew over time, if I got enough of the right people to see the stuff, it would work out.
I love that. I love stories like that. It's something that's quite a common theme on this show, is people that have a passion for something and do whatever the fuck they can to become successful at it. And you smashed it, man. And I love it. It's incredible. I love the way people do that. But as you've said, you work with the WWE now. You do so much of them. There's a network show, Canvas to Canvas. I've seen pictures of you at Access doing like paintings from scratch at Access. Like your pictures are on the back of action figures. Is this you pitching ideas to them, or is this them coming to you going, Rob, we've got an idea.
Well, everything you just mentioned, they came to me on those. It's a back and forth. And it's like, okay, if this thing succeeds, then what else similar could we do that could also possibly succeed? A lot of it works out that way. And just maintaining the relationships and the business side of things, like professional artist. Professional means you're getting paid for doing this thing. So like that side of things, taking care of the business, helps that to grow. They all appreciate that. Like, yes, they work in the entertainment field, but also they're business people. And like the main division that I spend the most time with are the merchandise, WWE shop, WWE auction guys, and they appreciate, like, they're all corporate guys. So they're like, when I talk with them, I talk about like, the subject and the timing of it towards like what's selling at the time. But if I'm talking to other people, it can be, you know, like more on the artistic side of things. It depends on which division I'm working with.
I had a really weird image in my head then of people at the auction and stuff have their entrance music. So, you know, the auctioneers just walk out. So they're all coming us like no chance in hell. But it's like smacking the gavel down, that sort of thing. That would be such a great idea, wouldn't it? Just like every single member that works for WWE, whether it be the actual wrestlers themselves all the way down to whoever, all has their own entrance theme. That'd be so great. And it's time they walked into a room. It'd be amazing. So you'd have your own. What would you have?
Well, speaking of the gavel, we do have a signed print of Wade Barrett up there.
Oh, incredible. Absolutely incredible. I'm so gutted they killed that off quite quick. That was such a great character. Oh,
loved it. Especially like the way that it would raise up in the air, like the platform he was on. So good.
You've painted so many people now, but how do you decide who you're going to do? Are you asked? Do they come to you and go, right, we want paintings? Or is it just whoever you feel like painting that week?
Well, here's the crazy thing that artists get real mad at me about when they find out is I'm completely self-driven. I actually own all my work. WWE licenses it from me. So there's no sketch approval, there's no revisions. And sometimes they come to me and say like, hey, like, it could be cool if you do a new one of this person soonish. Or if there is like a special project, that especially like timed around Wrestlemania, they may ask for someone specific, but otherwise it's all on me. And what I'm doing there is mostly like what's most interesting to me at that time. Is it someone new that I haven't painted yet? Is it someone that I haven't painted in a while? Or if they've changed up their look? Or if there's just a certain technique or style that I want to play around with, like which superstar matches the best. So it's never a black and white answer, but it's mostly whatever's most interesting to me at that time.
I saw that you did the one for Hell in the Cell 2019, which again was just out of this world.
Everyone loves that show. No one says a single bad thing about that show. Nothing bad happened at that show.
Moving on.
Anyway, I can't remember what I talk about, Rob. But have any of your art? Have you ever had any artwork used for a pay-per-view or for a live show or that at all?
There have been a few here and there, like that Hell in a Cell one was the event poster. One, they don't do event posters much at all anymore. That one was something like for the venue itself that was doing the poster. And because I work traditionally, not digitally, if something needs to change, like someone gets injured or they're not in the match anymore or something like that, then I have to do a whole new painting.
Oh, yeah.
And that gets unrealistic on a lot of levels at some point. So not a lot of that. Sometimes like things after the fact, I've done a few, but then like as soon as an event has happened, unless it's like something that like still resonates huge today, the fans just don't care. And at the end of the day, we're doing these to sell some of them so I can get some cat food for my two cats. And if I have to get off-brand food for my cats, they're not happy. So I need to do something that's going to sell a lot instead of something that doesn't sell as much.
So when it comes to deciding what you're going to paint, do you have like a plan? Do you plan out what you're doing? Or is it literally you grab your canvas, you're like, right, who do I feel like doing today?
It varies. Generally, like as far as the subject, like who I'm going to paint, I have that figured out a few weeks ahead, just so I'm not like doing people too close to each other or trying to match like what's happening right now versus something that's going to continue to resonate for a while. A lot of it is, last week, for instance, I didn't intend to, but Asuka returned on Raw. And so I'm like, okay, got to do a new Asuka. And, strike while the iron's hot. And my schedule allowed that at that moment. So I was able to jump in and do that. But otherwise, it's kind of, timed around sort of with what's happening right now, but also just what feels right for the moment.
I had this idea in my head that maybe you had this like list of people you're working on, and then like last year when they released like half the roster, you just like, right, let's cut this person off, this person off, this person off, this person off. This.
That did happen, big releases like that affects all of us to varying degrees. Obviously, the people that are getting let go get the worst of it. It affects everyone like throughout the organization to different levels.
Do you know what I am gutted about that, Rob? Is recently they've just released Dexter Loomis, and I would love to see you and him go at it in a paint off.
we kind of toyed around with that the one time I met him. We were at an NXT house show together, and mostly like Samuel and I are like online just buddies anyway, like, kind of within the same umbrella with wrestling art. Very different approaches and and very different types of art. But he was a super nice dude, and he's going to be good for whatever company he lands with, for sure.
Absolutely.
But is there anyone you haven't actually done yet that you want to do? Because you've done like so many.
The top of mind for me, and it's just kind of finding the right approach. Haven't done one of Dewdrop yet. I'm a fan of her, and it's just finding the right way in is the way I say it. Like, what's the best kind of painting that I can do for her? She's not involved in any storylines at the moment, so it's not as pressing. But once she's back in the mix in a bigger way, I would say you could expect one of her sooner than later.
She's phenomenal. I followed her when she was wrestling over here, because obviously she's from over here.
Sure.
Phenomenal. She's so good.
Major star. Yeah.
So do you have like any favorite people that you like to paint? You're just like, right, I need someone who I'm going to enjoy. Like, I'm doing this person.
The people whose looks and or personas are already over the top, to where I can push it even further. So yeah, like recently Asuka returning, like, okay, cool. Like, she's definitely one of my favorites, and like sells really well for me too. So that's an added bonus. Macho Man Randy Savage, The Undertaker, the new Seth freaking Rollins, with the stupid suits that he wears. It lets me really push things even further. So like I did a recent one of him that was just ridiculous, but it worked for him, right? The people where I can push it even further, like going back to the superhero comic book roots, I say that it's like the difference between, if you're going to do a drawing of Superman, you draw Superman. If you're going to draw Batman, you can kind of do whatever, right? So like John Cena, if I'm going to do a painting of John Cena, it's going to be John. But if I'm going to do one of The Undertaker, there's all these other elements that I can add in. But also like with, that said, like John has definitely like stepped over into being that living pop culture figure. So there's like different things that I can do with him now than like when I was first starting out. Like a recent one I did of him a couple of years ago, I painted everything as photorealistically as possible, except for his face is just blank white paper. because you can't see him. And
that took me a second. Super.
It's one of my most popular pieces, right? Because it's once the idea came to me, I'm like, oh, that works a little too good.
It's like when they released that Funko Pop of him and it was just clear. And I was like, that is just superb.
Would have been even better if it was just an empty box.
Yeah. Has any of the wrestlers at all really enjoyed your work?
To my face. As far as I know, they all do. Some really get into it. I don't want to name names with these people. But there's some that are on the younger end that, because I've been doing this for so long, that like they grew up on my art. And
way.
Part of like their thing of like part of their dream of getting into WWE is getting me to do a painting of them.
Oh, that's so cool.
And what a wild turn of events that is.
No,
right?
tell me, right?
Yeah, there was one that had to have like they were so nervous to meet me, had to have like someone introduce us as if I'm like some big deal, right? And it's so funny to me. But so that part is cool. But then also like the people that have been around forever, like WrestleMania, I got to hang out with Steve Austin, and we like just talked wrestling for half an hour. Randy Orton has framed up everything I've done of him and has it in his home office.
That's awesome.
Sorry to stooge on you, Randy. Randy's finally kind of letting it get out there that he's sort of nice guy.
Yeah,
it's been one of the best kept secrets in wrestling that Randy's actually pretty funny and nice to hang out with. So like it's throughout, and also like again like coming up on a decade with the company that people know that I'm around for a while, right? Like I'm part of this machine now.
I bet going back when you're watching it at 18 years old doing laundry in your mum's house that you thought you didn't think ever this is where you would be now, hanging out with Stone Cold Steve Austin for half an hour at WrestleMania backstage.
At that time, I still thought I was going to be drawing Batman. I
can't imagine. I can't imagine the past 10 years how many pinch yourself moments you must have had. Like, is this happening? Like,
it's nice that my wife gets to be there with me. Yeah. Like she gets to experience that side of things. Like for me, like I so get in my own head, and this is a thing that I totally did to myself, but like I view all of them and everything as like co-workers, right? And like you don't want to freak out and be a fanboy when you're working with someone that you're at the same job with, right? Even though it's the Undertaker signing my artwork, or Brock Lesnar, or Ric Flair, even. Like in those moments, I'm just trying to, like have a little bit of small talk with them and while they're signing for me, and then we all go along with our day. But then like my wife is like, that was so awesome.
It's like she fanboys for you.
Yes. And the superstars especially love having Katie around, because like she's there like really amping them up. Like she gets along with the lady wrestlers especially, and they love just having like their own kind of like Flava Flav hype man with them right there. But then me, I'm trying to be Mr. Super Professional, and meanwhile it's like when we get back to the hotel or we're in the car and I'm like, so that was pretty cool, right? She's like, oh my god, honey, that was amazing.
It's when she starts to scroll to the ring and be like, no, wait, okay.
She was actually in the No Way Jose Congo line once.
No way.
That's amazing.
Yeah. The talent relations guy like came up and was like, okay, we're short one, and like it was like a dream of hers, but like she didn't want to say anything, right? Like, because, you know, like respecting my side of things. And one of the merchandise guys that we work with was like, put Katie in there. And then there goes Katie in the conga line.
That is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Fair play.
That is awesome. Just going back to what Tom was saying about reactions from the superstars and that you've painted them on, have any of them ever like wanted to have the original from you?
A few, yeah. And several of them, though, like want originals of the wrestlers that inspired them. Nice. Like Bailey got a Randy Savage from me, and one of the luchadors got an Eddie Guerrero from me. Things like that, less so than like of themselves. You know, there's a weird thing there with some people, like, do you want a painting of yourself hanging up in your house, or do you want, you know, the thing that you're into? And it's both sides. There have been a few where they also know that, like, you know, they get a cut on what I sell, and the originals go for a pretty good price. So some of them just ask for a print for themselves. So yeah, it varies by person. The coolest one was I did a McMahon family portrait just on my own, and Stephanie saw it and reached out to me immediately and was like, "Hey Rob, don't sell this. Nothing to do with like whatever." She was just like, "I want to buy this and give it to my dad for a Christmas present." And Vince has it, well, last I heard, like hanging up in his private conference room. I don't know if that's still the case. I heard that years ago. They changed things around. But that was a funny one. Again, with my wife, we were with her family for Christmas that year, and she turned to me like while we were all opening presents, and she's like, "You know, right now, Vince is opening a gift from Stephanie, and it's your painting."
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Right next to the T-Rex skull, pal.
God damn it, it's great.
Well, Rob, I'm afraid I've got some bad news.
Okay.
I haven't. It was just a nice little impression. I thought going back to Ode to Wade Barrett earlier.
Okay. I thought we were coming up on the end here.
No. I'm quite proud of the impression. Never mind. That died in its ass massively.
Great.
So
I love that impression.
It's fine.
It's my favorite impression.
You should do it all the time, everywhere you go.
People like, okay, what's going on? What's happened?
A wrestling reference from 10 years ago. I don't remember.
Yeah, no. Everyone's like, all right,
but
mate.
you did it great.
So obviously, I don't know if you can actually answer this due to contractual reasons, but I'm going to ask it anyway. But is there anyone that you'd love to be able to paint from like other companies? Like, I know you probably can't because of your but is there anyone you see and you're just like, oh, I'd love to do my version of that?
You know, there's no exclusivity. Like I'm exclusive by the sheer volume of work that I'm doing. And I'm also kind of the mind that WWE is the one that brought me to the party, so I'm going to dance with them, right?
Absolutely.
Like they put a ton of faith in me, and I'm going to be loyal to that. But as far as like keeping an eye on who's out there in the field, I try to. I don't watch a lot of other shows just because of hours in the day, right? Like I feel the need to watch Raw, NXT, and SmackDown, and then like, you know, there's other shows on TV that I want to watch too, outside of wrestling. And as supportive as my wife is, she doesn't necessarily want to watch wrestling every night of the week either. But like Danhausen would be a ton of fun. And he and I are friendly, so it'd be cool to make that happen at some point. But overall, I don't watch a lot of others to be able to really speak to being able to make the best painting of them, because like since I'm not watching, I don't know that I could get their energy across as well as I do with the stuff I'm watching all the time.
I suppose on the flip side of that, then, for wrestlers that were at WWE that have now moved on, could you go back and do them like Jericho, for example? Could you do him back in the day, or should I stop asking these questions?
Yeah, here's the economic reality of it: is if they don't have a current contractual relationship with WWE, I'm not able to do prints of them, which is my main source of revenue.
Got you.
So it's like, am I going to do a painting of Chris Jericho that I could sell the original of, and that's it? Or am I going to do a new painting of Alexa Bliss and make sure that my cats are getting good food?
Yeah, fair
right.
enough. Yeah, silly question.
That's what it comes down to, and it's not WWE stopping me at all. In fact, like, employees there will occasionally ask me, like, "So are you doing stuff for the other companies?" And I'm like, "No, like, just because you guys put this faith in me, and I'm going to reward that."
Yeah, fair enough.
I love that. I love that loyalty. That's amazing. You're not even under contract to be loyal, but as a person, you are. I love that. That's amazing.
It's an important thing with me across the board, and it's paid off with I'd say pretty well.
So obviously we've talked about your history with comics, and that's how you grew up, and now you work. Have you ever thought about like putting the two together and doing your own WWE comic, whether it be just the cover for one or anything?
I believe they still have the license. I'm not sure, but Boom Studios did a series of WWE comics, and I did a couple covers and a short story for one. It's just it's a ton of work, and like if you think about one page of a comic is like 3 to 9 separate paintings. And like each panel is a different composition, everything. So like the amount of work I put into that, and without getting too crass commercialism here, like I could put that work into other stuff and make more money for my cats that way.
I love it. It's always about the cats, not you and the wife.
All for the cats.
So, is there anything in your work with WWE that you still want to achieve? Like, is there anything you've thought about and you're just like, I want to do that? That sounds like a great idea.
I would say, like, if there were ever the day where, like, a pay-per-view, notably like one of the big four, especially WrestleMania, like used my graphics for the show, that's probably like the last like real big thing for me out there. Otherwise, it's having a long career with WWE, and continuing to be successful for myself and for them. Just being able to do this for the rest of my life. That's the big one for me. Like I've been out of the workforce for about a decade, and I have no skills left that would be able to work out. So the sheer terror of having to go back to having a job is what keeps me going. I asked Paul Heyman that once, sorry for the name drop there, but I was like, what keeps you still going at such a high creative level? And he said, the sheer terror of having to get a day job.
You want to be managing for Roman Reigns? Yeah, right.
I get it.
I love that. That's amazing. He's definitely dream guest of mine. Oh,
yeah.
So
ask a question and then sit back for an hour.
Exactly. That's exactly what you want.
Dad, sorted.
So what's next for you then, sir? Have you got anything you're working on at the moment that you're allowed to talk about?
I've got like a new painting that comes out every week, every Sunday. the one coming up is of Edge's entrance at this past WrestleMania. Like there were people like tweeting me as it was happening, like, Rob, you're painting this, right?
Yeah.
So excited for that. Then there's like behind the scenes boring business stuff that's only exciting to like me and the people in WWE that I'm pretty excited about. But otherwise, yeah, like just continuing to put the best work out possible every week. Like it really hit home to me, like the whatever importance that I have, like, 'cause I mean, ultimately, like in the grand scheme of things, what is important? But during the lockdown, when WWE was off the road, everything that they put out, no matter what it was, reminded you that there's a pandemic happening, right? Mm-hmm. Like there would be no way to do pro wrestling without it being a reminder that there's a pandemic happening. Like if you had a crowd there, you'd be like, holy crap, why do you have a crowd there? Yeah. Without a crowd there, you're reminded why there's no crowd there. You bring in a crowd with masks, you see everyone with the mask on. But with my paintings during that year, it let people still experience wrestling the way that we all fell in love with it. Because like the paintings were either close up or they were from a time before lockdown, or just getting that energy across. I think a lot of people like got a deeper connection to the work during that time. And I take that really importantly and want to continue that trust that they've put in me and the work going forward.
Beautiful.
Stunning. I love that. Tom, have you got any more questions, my friend?
Yeah, going back to what I said earlier about being the 18-year-old in your mum's house doing laundry. Did you genuinely ever think that this is where you would be today?
As far as being a successful working artist, yes. Because you don't go into this wanting to do it full time and not plan for that.
Yeah.
Right. That it would turn out this way, there was no way of me knowing that. Like the way of wanting to get into art that I wanted didn't work out. But everything that I learned from those years of doing that put me into the place to be able to do what I'm doing now. So as far as like being able to make a full-time living, which is how I describe being successful, just being able to cover expenses. Yes, I was planning for that. There's without getting too egotistical, I'm a Midwestern American. We're very humble about stuff, or we try to be. But there was a point in it's either like 2018 or 2019. I was the most visible artist on Earth.
Wow.
Yeah, like between the Mattel figures and the stuff that I was doing with 2K, the video game company, and there was some stuff with Topps as well. All of that, all at the same time, like by the numbers. There were, I don't know, like 20 million people looking at my work all at the same time. And then, being on TV, and then like the stuff that I do with WWE, like it for a brief moment there, more people were looking at my art than anything else. And that part, no, I did not think that would happen. And I don't know that that'll ever happen again. It was just a confluence of events that didn't have much to do with me at all. But that was pretty remarkable. Like I did some art for the Supercard game, and it was like the featured image for like 2 weeks on like Apple and Android for like the games section.
No way.
For
That's
like
amazing.
the stores.
Yeah.
So like it's probably even like more than 20 million. It's astounding. And again,
incredible.
like probably never going to happen again. Really had nothing to do with me, but it happened.
Yeah.
It happened.
It
Yeah.
had everything to do with you. That's your skill, your talent that got your art to where it needed to be for that to happen. That is all you, sir. That is amazing.
Thank you. I should have you walk around the way my wife does with all the lady wrestlers.
Just walk around with Prince backstage. WWE. Look at this guy. He's amazing. Look what he can do. Look how fucking cool you look because of him.
They're like, look at Schamberger bringing around his own people. That's what they call me. It's my backstage nickname. Everyone has a terrible making fun of them backstage nickname. Mine's Schamberger.
Brilliant.
Rob, this has been so much fun. I've absolutely loved this. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Before we let you go, though, we like to play a little game with our guests, if you are willing, sir.
Well, we'll see.
It's called the quick fire round. We ask you 5 questions and you simply answer them as quick as you can.
Okay.
And you're going to know the answers because it's all about you.
Okay.
Nice.
I'll try.
Start with nice and easy one. Favorite pizza topping?
Mushrooms.
Oh,
Really?
beautiful, man, you.
Okay, fair enough.
I love me mushrooms.
I'm a mushroom fan.
The-
Not the legal kind. Wink.
If you could learn any language, what would it be?
Chinese.
Ooh, good answer. Talk to
Well-
Cena and give you some tips.
Oof. Actually, I'm going to say Japanese. I'm going to change that. Japanese. Just so that I can buy manga untranslated. Yeah.
Okay. Genius.
Yep.
If you could travel to the past or the future, which would it be?
Well, I talk about therapy I talk about the past every week in therapy, so I feel like I'm there all the time anyway. So I guess the future.
Great answer.
If you were to have a movie about your life, who would play you in that movie?
Boy. The bald guy with glasses from Groundhog Day, that comes up and like knows Bill Murray, like comes up to him on the street every day. And he was also in the remake of One Day at a Time.
I know who you mean. I can picture it in my head. I know.
Like him at that age in Groundhog Day would be about perfect for me. With a more monotone voice with dead eyes, he would nail me.
And last but not least, if you were to get into a time machine, head back in time and visit young Master Schamberger and give him one piece of advice, what would that be?
Trust yourself.
Oh, I like it.
Nice.
Like it very much.
Rob, this has been unbelievable. Thank you so much for taking the time out to sit down with us. We really, really appreciate it. And I've thoroughly enjoyed it, sir.
Yeah, thank you. And the listeners don't know this, but I accidentally missed the first time we were supposed to do this, and I just publicly again want to say I'm sorry. And the reasoning was so dumb. I just got caught up in a Lego set I was building, and I completely lost track of time. It was so dumb. I'm sorry, guys.
110% forgiven. That is the best reason to miss a meeting.
It was the bonsai set, man. It's so cool. But I'm so sorry. It was so unprofessional of me. It's not who I am.
Good.
I'm sorry.
All good, my friend.
All good.
Before we let you get out of here, though, do you have any plugs, websites, anything you want people to go check out?
Sure. Every Monday on WWE's YouTube channel, there's Canvas to Canvas, where you get to watch me make that new painting that I put out each week. All of my prints and whatever originals are still available are at schambergerlabs.com. That's SCHAMBERGER labs.com. And also I've got a weekly newsletter that is like outside of my art, my favorite thing that I do. That's robschamberger.substack.com to go subscribe. I really enjoy doing that. There's like free and paid versions, but the free version is still completely great. Also, we have signed prints available on WWE Auction, and prints and a few t-shirts up on WWE Shop.
Incredible.
Where can they find you on social media? Because your Instagram is definitely one to follow.
Oh, thanks. Twitter and Instagram both is at Rob Schamberger. Again, ROBSCHAMBERGER.
Superb. Everyone go give Rob a follow and go buy a print because they're amazing.
Thank you. You're right.
right now. Rob, thank you, man. Honestly, this has been great. Enjoy the rest of your day. Yeah, and thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
It was a blast. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been amazing. Thank you so much, Rob.
Take care, sir.
Thanks. Enjoy your days.
You too, man. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Is this thing on? Well, howdy doody, everybody. This is Braden Berry from Say We Can Fly, founder of Stay Cozy Clothing, your one-stop shop for the coziest, most fashionable hoodies, t-shirts, and more. Gosh, Mickey.
That's right, folks. And we're proud to say that we are now sponsoring
The Chronicles of Podcast. Ouch.
Hosted by Tom and Jamie.
Like, you can get 10% off, man. That's right, Shaggy. Just use the special code, The Chronicles, at checkout.
Oh, boys.
Just an incredible conversation. And I found it personally really inspirational and motivating as well. Especially that line about Mad Men.
Yeah, it's great. I just think that it's amazing that if you really... life's about taking risks, I think. And you go, well, I really don't want to work in a 9 to 5 anymore. This is not for me. I don't want to do this. How can I achieve my dream? How can I do the thing that I want to do, the thing that I love, and get paid for it? And actually bring the revenue in so I can look after my family. I can feed my animals, that sort of thing. It's amazing. And it's what I'd love to do for this show personally.
Absolutely.
So... but yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as we did recording it. Rob, thank you ever so much again.
Hey there, I'm Frank Guglielmelli, and I'm the narrator for the audio drama Feed, featuring such audio dramas as Bounty Hunters, Marty and Mars, Val Toby, and so much more. You can find all of these wonderful programs on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. Or you can go to our website at www.audiodramafeed.com. We are thrilled to be affiliated with the Chronicles of Podcast with Tom and Jamie.